My name is Matt Parsons and I was born with Erb's palsy, which is also known as brachial plexus injury. I struggle with upper body strength due to the severe nerve damage, and it leaves me only being able to use the right side of my upper body. Even getting onto the school bus was an issue growing up, as it was difficult to lift my school bags, which are always crammed full of books. So my mum did physiotherapy with me every day to try and get some of the nerves fired up and to build up some muscle. It was a difficult time back in the 80s as there was no internet. My parents couldn't do the research that you can do nowadays. They felt alone and had to do the best that they could in the situation. So what about now? Well, here I am, almost 30 years later. My range of movement isn't great, but I still get by. For me, one of the biggest issues is self-image, and I don't particularly like looking at myself in the mirror. Something I know that I need to sort out. I decided to take an online journey on social media. This led on to various journeys across the UK and to New York. My original plan was to make a feature-length documentary, but as I started interviewing people, I realised that there was far too much to say in just a couple of hours. So far, I've met a nerve surgeon, physiotherapist, a professional NFL player, a professional boxer, fashion designer, and many, many more inspiring people with Erb's palsy. They all have their own unique experiences living with this injury, yet I have found we all share a similar outlook on life. In this episode, I'm talking to Joe Campbell, a gym enthusiast who talks to me about his life living with Erb's palsy. Thank you so much for agreeing to come and do this interview, and I know it's really awesome to find other people with Erb's palsy and to hear sort of where they've come from. So, were you born with Erb's palsy, or is it something that sort of happened to you later on in life?
I was born with it. I think I'm not too sure, but I think everyone that suffers from Erb's palsy is born with it. I think it's a birth defect. I think it happens because what I believe is you're a big baby. I was 9 pounds 12. I know you was bigger than me.
Yeah, nearly 11 pounds.
Yeah, that's a big baby. That's really big. I was only 9. Well, say only 9, 12. It's still big. And what happens is you're basically too big to come out of a natural birth. So what should happen is you should be born by cesarean, but unfortunately you're not.
Yeah. So a bit like me, you kind of got stuck.
Yeah.
And I kind of got pulled basically by the midwife, and that sort of tore the nerves. Yeah. Really.
I think the same thing happened to me. I was pulled by I think it was by the doctor. I'm not too sure if they use forceps, but I'm not sure if my mum's joking about this, but she says that me and the doctor went flying.
Oh really?
Yeah. So
kind of have this imagery.
Yeah. Just pull it in and go flying. But then I can't remember how the medical or the technical term for it is, but they say is it that it paralyzes the shoulder or something like that at birth? Or,
yeah, it affects the C5 nerves or something like that.
And then it leaves you without the same movement in both of your arms.
When did you realise that you sort of had an issue? I mean, like for me, when I was a kid, I realised that there's certain movements I couldn't do, and then I was like, what's going on? And so was there a time that you kind of realised that you were maybe a little bit different, that you had this disability?
I think for me, I was always aware from basically, I can't say from birth because I'm a baby obviously, but from the age that I was able to tell the difference of shapes and sizes, I kind of knew from I started because I've had operations from young. So I've had 3 operations, and I think my first one was at an early age. So I have a memory of it, and I think I was quite aware from a really young age. I would say about 2 years old.
Yeah.
Not that I can remember when I was 2, but
did it sort of affect you as a toddler? Like, because obviously, like when I think about myself having Erb's palsy, I kind of know from when I could start remembering stuff. So like I kind of think about my mum, and she said that apparently I used to crawl on my elbow with my hand because I didn't have the movement and the strength. I mean, as a toddler, have you had any sort of information from your mum and your dad, sort of how you were as a kid?
I don't know. My memory's quite good, so I actually remember back to them times, and I've seen videos of myself, and I think I can't remember back to when I was crawling, but from about the age of 2, still being able to hold my bottle. So I was able to hold my bottle and feed myself, and I could hold on, I could swing. I couldn't do the monkey bars. I've only been able to do the monkey bars in the last 4 years since I turned 24. That was a big accomplishment for me.
Your parents quite supportive with you, because I know, like, obviously you've got a new baby and they've got a birth injury, and it must be quite tough on the parents. But so how did they react to that? Were they supportive and pushed you, encouraged you to do loads of different things?
My mum and my dad have always been supportive of me. They've always been there. I think they both handle it in their own ways. For me, my parents weren't together, but then unfortunately they never stayed together. But that's part of life.
Yeah.
I think in their own worlds, they both handled it differently. My mum's always been a strong woman. She's always been a fighter. So she fought and got treatments for me. She had the operation. She's fought and got operations. My dad was fighting with her, but again, when you're single, you're with your mum majority of the time. So my mum was at the forefront of it. Yeah. My dad was just there to support her, and he done what he could, and he stepped in when he could. So
you mentioned about the operations. How many operations have you had?
I've had 3 from memory. I think I'm not too sure if I had one at birth, but I'm definitely certain I've had 3 from memory. I had one at maybe about the age of 2 or 3 years old, and that was my first operation. That was, they done something here. I'm not sure what it was, but my second and third was kind of a joint 2 operations. One where they took a nerve from underneath my armpit. So on my right side, this movement and this movement, like that. Being able to outward movements. I can't remember what they're called. They've basically tried to give me that on my left side. So they've taken the nerve that does that on your right side is underneath your armpit, I believe.
Has that affected your right arm at all?
No, it's not. They didn't take it from my right arm. They took the nerve from my left armpit and transplanted it to my to the back of me. So the same movement that I have here, that nerve is able to do it on both sides, but in different ways, I believe.
Okay. So you say you're quite limited, you say?
On my left side, I'm quite limited to do that, but I've noticed as I've started to build up more muscle, my strength has grown, but my stiffness, I've got a bit stiffer. Okay. So my range has got a bit shorter. Oh, really? But I think that's because of the muscle, the weight and the tension. So my your tendon, everything's getting tighter. Like I'm solidifying, so to speak.
So I've kind of noticed a similar thing. I mean, I'm not you know, as in shape as you are. And I've noticed actually there's a little bit more muscle. But I'm noticing that this arm's getting a little bit stronger. I swear my arm's not as straight as it was. And I'm kind of in that mindset of like, well, do I keep going, or you know, what's more important?
You got to keep going. You always got to keep going. What it is, we got to learn how to kind of condition ourselves, and that's even with people with a full able bodies, even athletes. Athletes will tell you that you have to condition yourself. So you once you start wearing yourself down, now you're starting to wear yourself down. You got to learn how to treat yourself and heal yourself. So as we're developing muscles, we're getting more tension, tightening up. We've got to remember, especially for ourselves, because we've already got a setback, so to speak. We got to do more, emphasize on rehabilitating. So you're putting pressure on it, so you got to rehabilitate it and think about, okay, now I got to think about appearance and straightening back out. So I'm building muscle, but then I'm losing. I don't know what would it be called?
Extension.
I'm losing extension. So now I've got to go back and sort back out my extension afterwards.
Just kind of keep evaluating and
keep balancing it out.
Okay, cool. I mean, you're an electrician. You were a carpenter for a while as well.
Yeah, I'm training as an electrician, so I'm not a qualified electrician. I'm a qualified carpenter and joiner. But I'm training as an electrician.
Does that affect? Because that's quite a physical job, isn't it? You're using your Palsy arm quite a lot. Doing that kind of stuff. Do you find that sometimes you have to have like trick movements to do certain things, or like how do you? Cause, yeah, it's quite physical, isn't it? So you're using your arm quite a lot. Is there anything that you struggle with, or how do you adapt to that sort of stuff?
For me, adapt is the key word, and struggle is a smaller word.
Yeah.
But with electrical installation that I do now, I kind of learnt from my previous trade how to adapt and how to. So I think it was more so doing it in carpentry. I learned how to, like, for instance, measuring out and using a measure tape, a measuring tape, for instance. That the normal person can just put their hands up and measure a ceiling or measure whatever it is, even if it's the top of a door, just stretch their hands out. For me, I had to kind of adapt. So I had to learn how can I use this measuring tape without having to use both hands up high. So what I learned how to do is I learned how to, if you've got a strong enough measuring tape, you can bend it and it can hold itself. So I can hold one side, bend this side, have my hand at whatever height comfortable for me, and still get whatever measurements it. So it could be a full length, as long as it's not too long, because obviously you need two people. But it could be a full length room, and as long as your measuring tape will stay solid, I can now, as a disabled person with only the use of one hand properly, do my job. So
and that's the thing, isn't it? It's kind of like, for me as well, like, I don't know, like when if you're the same, but you know, having a shower or whatever, I just generally like wash my hair one-handed, or like, because I can't get my arm there, I have to kind of have trick movements to do stuff.
You adapt.
Yeah,
Again,
it's like I'm a monkey.
You just done the same thing. I would do the same thing. I do support myself with my other arm a lot, and I find that, I think in public, I used to second guess it and I used to be embarrassed. But now because you drive, you got your license, obviously. When you I don't know, for you, was it hard learning how to change the gear? Did you do automatic?
No, a manual.
See, I do manual as well, but a lot of people that I know, well, not a lot of people, sorry, the one person that I do know that drives and that has got their license and that suffers from the same thing, they've done automatic. And obviously for them it must have been easier to do automatic, and maybe, I don't know, confidence, whatever, safety.
And also I guess it's because my range of movement's different to yours, and this is the thing with Erb's palsy, like it's different degrees depending on what nerves have been damaged. Exactly. So for some people they can't drive a manual because they don't have that movement. But that's, again, it is all about adaptation, isn't it? It's all about finding your own way of doing something. And I don't know about you, but I kind of sometimes feel quite self-conscious about things. I think that's just part of my nature as well. So, you know, if I'm in the gym, I worry that people are looking at me, and then I feel self-conscious, and then it was a real big thing for me to try and break that wall down. So I mean, how do you feel about that? Are you ever self-conscious, and do you ever worry what people might think?
All the time. I don't worry what they think. I think what they think. So instead of worrying about it, I generally say to myself, he's probably watching me. He's probably watching me, wondering what I'm doing, but this is what I'm doing, innit? And I don't have anything to prove to anyone.
Just to yourself, really.
To myself. So again, back to adaptation and orders and stuff like that. Sometimes I will drive. I'm driving sometimes with my left hand. Like, if I've worked out, I'll do stuff like that. Like,
I do the same thing. I've got like this old camper van, and like the gear change is like
Yeah.
so big because
Yeah.
it's like a 34-year-old
Yeah.
thing, and so I can't. There's some gears that I
Yeah.
can't. If I'm
Yeah.
putting it into reverse, I
Yeah.
have to use the second
Yeah.
hand to
Yeah.
try and get that over there.
And then, but with people, like, say you're driving with someone that hasn't, you don't, if it's not your wife or
Yeah.
someone that you drive with all the time, you feel like, oh, I'm gonna have to do this.
Yeah.
But then I just do it. I just do it now. So when I'm in the gym, I adapt.
And that's it. I mean, even if people are looking, they might be just wondering, okay, well, I wonder what's wrong with him.
Yeah.
I wonder, you know, and that's really cool. That actually, I think sometimes we worry that actually people are kind of thinking, you're weird or you're a bit different.
Yeah.
You know what, different's fine, actually, isn't it? Because you're working actually probably harder than those guys, because they, they've got two arms that are working, and if you're working one arm double in a way, aren't you really? Because you haven't got the movement and stuff like that. So do you get pain in this arm?
I don't get. I get pain from muscle growth.
Because it's one of those things. I know I've spoken to a couple of people, and again, this is why Erb's palsy's a funny one, because everyone has it in different extremes. And I know some people, they can't sleep at night because they, if you trap a nerve, it hurts, doesn't it? If you do that, you can't sleep. And
I get more pain from this side, my normal right side.
Oh, really?
Yeah, of course. I've given myself sciatica from working out. So deadlift. Make sure you deadlift properly, guys. I've caused sciatica, and I get that's the worst type of pain that I get than any type of pain. Trapped nerve.
Do you think part because we're a little bit lopsided because we are because the way the muscles are working, I find that if I'm doing something, I'm kind of have trick movements and other muscles are moving, and sometimes I get bad back, and I don't know if that's because I'm kind of doing things a little bit twisted, maybe.
Possibly.
Yeah.
But I think where we have bad balance, I learn. I train myself to kind of combat that. I do a lot of balance training. When I was younger, I done kickboxing, so I done a lot of different sports. But when I was about I always refer back to school years, and I can never remember what actual age I was, but I know I was in about year 8 in school. So you're about how old?
Year 8, about 12.
About 12, 13. So from year 8 to about year 10, 11, I done kickboxing, but I took it seriously.
Yeah.
So I went up in belts and done competitions and stuff like that. So whilst doing kickboxing, you do a lot of balance training, and you do a lot of because you're fighting, you do a lot of movement on your feet and standing on one leg and learning how to balance on one leg. So I think my balance, I learned how to combat that by training myself, basically. So
I mean, we spoke earlier about balance as well, and I'm a really bad skier. I mean, I've only done it a few times, but I worry about falling. The same with when I go out on my mountain bike as well. Turning left, whether I'm skiing or whether I'm on my mountain bike, I worry about falling over, because I don't know if it's a psychological thing or what, but it's interesting that you say about balance, because I think that's quite common with people with Erb's palsy, brachial plexus injury, because I mean, for me, it's more about falling. If I fall, I'm going to do myself. Yeah. Because I can't support my own weight very well there. Did you ever? I mean, I got picked on a little bit. You got name called. I mean, how was your confidence at school? Because when you're a teenager, it's quite difficult, isn't it? And I know there's a lot of kids out there that've got Erb's palsy, and they're going to be a point in their life where they're starting to feel really self-conscious, and things can be quite noticeable.
Yeah. I did. I don't think. For me, I was always quite confident, but I did receive I did have my run-ins with the odd people that wanted to be nasty and thought that it was acceptable to be nasty. But I've always been someone who stood up for himself, and I just kind of gave as good as I got. I was never a bully or used it to be a bully or take my anger out on anyone. But I think if someone was gonna be nasty to me, I would let them know how I feel.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Because it's difficult. There's a lot of people with mental health, and they feel as though they can't talk. And I think there's some people out there that have got Erb's palsy that kind of suppress it. Because there is this sort of pressure in today's society to look a certain way, and it's difficult. There's this, and I think it's to some extent it's kind of that helpless feeling, because we can get stronger, we can do certain things, but there are certain movements that I know that I'll never be able to do. I can't physically put my hand behind my back, unless they have a nerve transplant or something, I'm probably never going to get that movement. And there's nothing I can do about it. And acceptance is a really difficult thing. I mean, have you always kind of accepted it, or did you have like a point in your life where you were struggling with it, and then you just kind of accepted it and just got on with it and decided, you know what, I'm going to go to the gym, I'm going to make it as good as I can make it?
Yeah, there was. Funny you say that, but I don't know if that's down to the fact that because I've had operations and you haven't, so I'm aware of that there is a nerve that they've put there to make work and do stuff. So it's for me to get it functional. I do see light at the end of the tunnel. So whereas you think, you'd never be able to get your hand behind your back. Yeah. For me, when you say that, I think differently. I think you will.
Okay.
I think that you possibly can, and it's just a case of training yourself and working on it. But it's a case of it's hard for us because we're not machines. We can't see what's inside of us.
Sure.
So even though a doctor can diagnose you, they can't see what nerve is actually dead unless they go inside of you and look using a machine or a CAT scan or whatever. But for me, it's like that nerve might not it might just be damaged.
Yeah, or the fact that because we're doing loads of different trick movements all of our life, our brains have got used to doing things a certain way. And actually, because I know sometimes if I really think about doing a certain movement, I can actually do it. Yeah. But sometimes I just kind of have a trick movement because it's easier to do it that way. So it's just retraining those muscles.
So it might, for me, I never think, I'll never be able to get my hand behind my back. Yeah. It's a case of I got to get that thing working that is going to get my hand behind my back. So I need to keep on doing whatever it is. Whatever it is, just you do the same movement. Yeah. Day in, day out, and you work yourself round.
Little bits,
and then eventually your brain and the nerve and the muscles will come together. Like the body, biology is an amazing thing. Like the creation, the human body is amazing. It's the best machine ever invented. Yeah. Like it can do wonderful things.
We were sort of talking earlier a little bit about how you see yourself as well. Like, so when I look in the mirror, I can see I'm not the same on both sides. And it's the same when I look at photographs of myself as well. It's the first thing that I look at. Are you similar to that?
Yeah, I think the first thing that I look at in a photo of me is my shoulder. Yeah. Honestly.
And how does that make you feel?
I don't know, because this is going to sound big-headed of me, but I think, thank God my parents were my parents and they looked the way they looked, because luckily enough I look like them, so I've always been able to hide it, innit, so not give myself too much of a big head, but I've always been confident with my looks, so I was always able to, I can put a jacket on. Yeah. And
no one
ain't gonna know. As long as I'm confident enough, smile and feel good, no one's not gonna know. So I could walk into any room and feel.
And confidence is such an important thing in life anyway, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it's a funny thing because we have that. I don't know if you ever get it, but people say, "Oh, I didn't know you had a problem."
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, well, that's okay.
Yeah.
But, you know, I do have a problem. Yeah. And it makes you feel a bit funny. I mean, do you ever get that?
Yeah, I get that. And especially when people say, I would never tell, or I could never tell. But you could tell. You can tell. Yeah. And you might as well just be honest about it. Yeah. I'd rather people be honest about it, or people just not say anything at all, really. Yeah.
But in a way, it kind of like, I don't want it to be a sort of thing with Erb's palsy that, you know, there are people in worse situations than us, definitely, and I appreciate that. Yeah. But when people do say, "Oh, I never noticed you had a problem," you kind of think, "Oh, so all of that stuff that I worry about doesn't mean anything then."
Yeah.
You know?
No, it does. It definitely does mean something, and I think it's hard for people that don't suffer from it, innit? It's that's what it comes down to. If you've never walked in our shoes, you're not gonna understand. So you're not gonna understand when they say, "Oh, I didn't notice you had a problem. They're not gonna understand that that's just them confirming that you do have a problem.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
By them saying, "Oh, I didn't notice it," but you did. You do notice it, and I am different to you. Right.
Is there anything in your everyday life that you kind of struggle with, and you kind of think, oh man, I get really frustrated when I can't do that the same as other people?
I think, yeah, but I think maybe those challenges are because when I've got two daughters, for me, with my daughters, I can't do the same things that other dads can. Like, for me, I like putting my daughters on my shoulders.
Yeah.
But it's hard with one hand.
Yeah.
It's hard, so I always get nervous. I do it, but I get nervous that maybe this shoulder can't take as much pressure as this one, or just little things. Even though I know it can take it and I'm strong enough to do it, but I think I question things a lot. I can do everything. We're all capable of doing everything that anybody else can, but you question it. I question it a lot.
Yeah.
I think
it's
more
good to question though, isn't it?
It is good, but sometimes it's a setback. Sometimes it builds up anxiety and nerves that you shouldn't really have.
How do you deal with sort of anxiety usually and stress?
Again, back to if I talk about my kids, when you got kids, you haven't got time to think about it.
Yeah.
You just deal with it. But for things to do with myself, like say if I was gonna go for a job or a job interview or something like that, or not even a job interview, or even in my current job, I was set a different task. I just throw myself in the deep end.
Right.
And just throw myself in the deep end and do it.
It's often the best way of doing it, isn't
Yeah.
it? It's the easiest way to learn sometimes.
Yeah, failure. Sometimes, obviously, if it's a cost thing, it's not good to fail.
Yeah.
But
do you know anyone else that's got Erb's palsy? Have you met anyone else that has got the same sort of condition?
As a child, when I was going through operations and things, I was surrounded by a lot of kids that had the same type of thing as me, same condition, Erb's palsy, different type of palsies. When I got older, for a long period of time, I didn't see I didn't know anyone that had it. Those people that were around me when I was young, I didn't stay in contact with them. So, and when I got older, I can say like, no, I didn't know anyone. But then, in my later years of I was gonna say adulthood, but adolescenthood, like my early adulthood ages, I met someone that has had it. I met there's a girl that I know that's got Erb's palsy.
Okay.
So, and now as I've met you, you've opened the door to many of people I haven't physically met, but through networking and social network.
And how powerful is social media though?
Yeah, powerful.
It's powerful in so many different ways, but it can be such a positive thing, because that's sort of how we got in contact through Instagram.
Yeah.
And it really, looking at your posts of you in the gym sort of really fired me up when I was going to the gym. I was thinking, well, if this guy can do it, I can do it, and that's so cool. And like,
that's why I'm glad that makes me happy, because that's what I was aiming for too. Because obviously, you post things yourself.
Yeah.
So you post what you want people to see.
Yeah.
So that's what I wanted to see, and that's the reaction I wanted from what I was posting.
And it's interesting because I'm 34 and you're 28.
I'm 28.
Yeah. And so when we were a bit younger, we didn't have Instagram, we didn't have Facebook, YouTube, and so it's really powerful, and we can use that in such a good way. And I'm hearing more cases now of people. Again, we were speaking about it earlier about court cases. So I won a court case. Yeah. And you said that person that you met who had it won a court case. Yeah, they won. But you didn't.
No, I didn't. It's hard, man. It's hard to it's hard to determine why my mum wasn't successful in winning her court case, or I wasn't successful. But part of me, which is gonna sound bitter, thinks it's to do with our economical, what's the word, status in the world, who we are and what we look like,
really,
and what we have. Yeah, part of me believes it's to do with that, and part of me just thinks it's bad luck.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how you feel about luck. Have you ever thought that you was born unlucky?
Well, yeah. I mean, at times I think I get frustrated that like, oh, why was I born with this? But then I've got to a point in my life where I believe things are meant to happen. You know, and my arm has actually given me so much.
Yeah.
Because it gave me. We won the court case, and actually that paid for my education, and I went to school, which I loved. One school I hated, and the other school I loved, and now I teach at that school, and I met my wife at that school. So if it wasn't for my Erbs palsy, in a really weird sort of way, I wouldn't have my job, and I wouldn't have my wife.
Yeah.
So from that point of view, I can feel good about it. But I guess if it's difficult to find that link, it's yeah.
See, if I'm honest with you, like if I'm really, really honest, sometimes I sway, I go in and out. So sometimes I think, no, you're just completely luckless. You have no luck.
Really?
Yeah, you was born bad. You was born with bad luck. Look, you must have. You suffer from Erbs palsy. And then sometimes I think, nah, there ain't no luck, and luck's what you create, and we determine what happens in our life ourselves. But then there's a flip side, because not even a flip side, there's a third side, because like you said, sometimes, not even sometimes, I do, a lot of the time, I think things have happened for a reason, and I'm on a journey, or I'm going somewhere.
Yeah.
So there is part of me that still believes that the Erbs palsy was given to me to make me be a certain way, or to put me on a certain path. Or,
so do you think you'd be different if you didn't have Erbs palsy? How do you think your sort of general attitude would be to life? I mean,
I think I'll definitely be different. I think the environment that I was around, and where I came from, and the things that were around me probably would have influenced me to be a different person. The same as like who I am today, but just maybe a bit more aggressive and angry, because I could have been, because I had the power to.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So you feel as though that actually Erbs palsy sort of grounded you a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. I think I could have been like Mike Tyson or someone.
Yeah.
Even though he was one of the greatest boxers in the world. Some people might say he's the best, or he's one of the best. He was still a madman. He was still a nutcase, and with whatever success he had, he still had lots of demons.
Yeah.
And I think that could have been me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So actually, in a way, it's kind of, if you think, and it's so good to reflect, isn't it? So good to. I think it's such an important thing, and I think there's more people need to do it. They need to kind of look at themselves and think, well, actually, I've got this. How has this made me a better person? And really focus on that, especially if they're at a point in their life where they're really doubting themselves and they're struggling. It's like, well, actually, look, I can do this. It's made me this way. Let's make it positive.
It's definitely given me a lot of good qualities. It's given me some bad, i.e. short temper, and just the like you fall into depression. Honestly, you do fall into depression sometimes, but if you're strong enough, you can pick yourself up out of it. But then the good qualities that it's given me, it's made me empathetic, if that's the right word. Empathetic. It's made me sympathetic. It's made me compassionate. It's made me passionate. It's made me
and they're all good. They're all so good for life skills in general.
Thoughtful. It's made me caring about others. It's made me what's the word? Resilient. It's empowered me. networking. I'm able to talk to. I've never before, so I never knew you, but you're sitting in my house and we're talking as if we've been friends for our whole life. So it's allowed me to be able to talk to people.
And I think for guys as well, like there's this whole stigma about guys and having to be tough all the time, and tough guys don't talk. You have an issue, you just get on with it. But I really like the fact that, you know, we've only been in each other's company for like 2 or 3 hours, and we've spoken about so many different things, and that's a really cool thing to be able to do.
To gel.
And to talk about, you know, how things affect you emotionally, because some guys don't talk about that stuff. No. And I think it's really important that they do.
Guys and girls, I think mental health nowadays is a serious issue, a big serious issue, and a lot of things stop people from addressing their emotions. There's so much distractions. But obviously for us, every day we look in the mirror and it faces us, so we address it. We go out thinking, all right, cool, I'm going to be confident and walk down the street confident today.
Doesn't always happen though. I don't always feel confident, but it's kind of there in the background, but sometimes I'll catch myself in the reflection and I'll be like, oh man, you know, and then I kind of turn the other way and be like, oh yeah, all right, and then I look at this side and be like, oh.
Yeah, honestly, that happens, and it probably happens to all of us. Happens to me. You gotta just roll the punches. You gotta roll the punches and try not to let it get you down too much. Not even too much. Try not to let you get it down at all. Just
keep strong.
Just keep strong. Yeah.
We like that thing about herbs. So empowered, resilient, brave, and strong.
Yeah.
You know, and
those are some brilliant key words, and if you can use those, do whatever you need to do, basically.
My mama need a brand new crib, and my sisters need shoes for the kids, and my brothers need bread for the bills, and my pops need food for the meals. Alarm clock ringing, it's time to wake up. I hit snooze 3 times, I'm running late, but it's all good. I'm just trying to stack that paper so I can slide to the studio later and rap about this life that I'm living. Everything is expensive and these prices are driven. Every night I've been thinking, gotta apply for positions as I'm cutting cigarillos with a knife in the kitchen. Roll it up, I'm feeling right in my system. Stress relieved, I made ease, now I'm writing and spitting. Thought about quitting, but now my soul at peace. Still gotta watch my back, cause they hold that heat. Yeah, them boys want what's on your toes and feet. I be dressed to the T, but they know I'm street. What I wrote is deep, every quote is me. Somebody gotta make it, and my fam hope it's me. What I wrote is deep, every quote is me. I know I gotta make it, cause my fam hope it's me. My mama need a brand new crib, and my sisters need shoes for the kids, and my brothers need bread for the bills, and my pops need food for the meals. But I'm feeling like I'm selling my soul for the money, like I'm selling my soul for the money. I be feeling like I'm selling my soul for the money, like I'm selling my soul for the money. I be feeling like I'm selling my soul for the money, like I'm selling.
Next time on Exploring Herbs Palsy, I'll be talking to Kayshawn Williams, who talks to me about his life living with Herbs Palsy and the fashion industry.
Am I really selling my soul, or am I doing what I gotta do to get to the goal? That's why sometimes I be letting it go, for that feeling I be feeling when I step in the show, or that feeling my mom get when I step in the door after being gone for 6 months. Where that feeling is gold. I love you, ma, I hate to leave you living alone, but I gotta chase my dreams. I'm just letting you know I went to college for you, and now I'm getting this dope.